Thus I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Vulture Peak Mountain, with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of a lineage trained who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva Mahasattva, answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The five skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors in consciousness are empty. Shariputra, Like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are neither impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, there is no quality of sight, and so on, until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on, up to no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas dwell in the three times to rely upon the perfection of wisdom, and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, Venerable Avalokiteshvara, that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you were taught, and that the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Lamada Gamo Jetsun Jambe Yama Jansemo Gage Lotu Trini Trinre Nida Nanda Rasemi Jini Dagu Jishin Zinji Niji Toba Lebazi Gala Sibe Sara Mari Mejono Gejizewe
转明年当转明年节当仁波切瑞我法桑之心得作业吧我们把耶罗多波罗仁波切那个仁波切僧摩仁波切南波仁波切南波仁波切他说仁波切马可仁波切天神波耶波巴耶玛真玛玛勒玛嘎玛美多玛杜格玛那萨玛智胜玛耶玛达瓦仁波切度说的南巴要被要三个苏拉达米要多别说说话嘛藏话别把三十别路话你个真正藏话当就话这边跑的嘛那巴那个贴吧都要跑的嘛当别想哪里贴吧这个送车上么就为要读先话别话就多见多没更多些诉说些年让他所着话嘛就能他当让别生生当知了都在我前边过的心知了都所有所有是都一直
Amen.
Sasanin Salimba, Yochen Shupe Jula Soade, Yochen Shupe Jula Soade, Yanya Yume Chonji Ludroda, Awa Japa Libe Kujuche, Sanye Jonjon Papa Yaseso, Samo Tawe Jula Soade, Samo Tawe Jula Soade, Shedru Dambe Choma Atisha, Padam Tempe Meho Rodenje, Nejo Namshi Kuche Sonaso, Padam Lama Nama Soade, Padam Lama Nama Soade, Onje Shinte Soje Tsongkapa, Mondo Libe Wanshu Yasaje, Dona Tempe Tapo Kedruje, Yose Yuba Jela Soade, Yose Yuba Jela Soade, Joso Gundu Lama Doje Chang, Ala Gundu Shenye Suzone, Chola Tumo Doru Zuzebe, Geje Lama Nama Soade, Geje Lama Nama Soade, Raja Sura Kula Tarebi, Kesa Taka Jode Jomajo, Sere Jode Take Sevaye, Saze Shenye Nama Soade, Saze Shenye Nama Soade, Jewa Kuntu Yada Lama Dam, Jame Chuji Pela Long Shijin, Sada Langi Yanten Razode, Doje Changi Gohan Yutosho, Doje Changi Gohan Yutosho, Joran Soji Chonam La, Janchu Padu Dani Kapsuchi, Ari Chunyen Jipe Sonangi, Drola Penchi Sanje Gupasho, Jodan Soji Chonam La, Janchu Padu Dani Kapsuchi, Ari Chunyen Jipe Sonangi, Drola Penchi Sanje Gupasho, Jodan Soji Chonam La, Janchu Padu Dani Kapsuchi, Ari Chunyen Jipe Sonangi, Drola Penchi Sanje Gupasho.
주 체내들이 되지 도전을 받아 가와지네. 계속 미유로 경험지 그래서 계속시는 경험지 그래서
when we are receiving the teachings of the Dharma, it is unlike the receiving the teachings of the other teachings such as lecture and so forth. So therefore, it is very important for all of us to first of all to maintain or to cultivate positive motivations to listen to the teachings of the Dharma.
그 가리치들에서 나와요. 데려와. 근데 주요 제세대 시제 지고를 사는 것 동안에 랑기 질을 맞춰서 뭐 잡기 때문에 와. 이 자지 제자.
So why? Because the teachings of the Dharma and receiving the teachings of the Dharma, it is not only just to know the Dharma intellectually, but rather that you're receiving for the Dharma should really make a very strong impact, a strong imprint within one's team.
그 가리치들에서는 아주 균형 제도지 야고 차와에서는 나서라 아니 장이 店的대화 주고嘛这他也被生产堂去了店的대화 주에 니바는 가서 요는 니바도 좀 비슷하다.
So why? Because by receiving the teachings of the Dharma, not only just will, as a result, will gain the state of enlightenment for oneself, but also have a potential within us to lead other beings to the state of enlightenment. So in order to revitalize the potential that lies within us, therefore we cultivate appropriate motivations to receiving the teachings of the Dharma.
된주기 니바도 단다 간제지 경험을 내려서는 단다 미바시를 내려서 나봉지를 내려.
So speaking about the potential that lies within us, so this kind of potential, what is the situation of this potential right at this point? At this point, the potential that we have is actually exist within the darkness of ignorance. This is also known as unknowing or misknowing. Ignorance refers to. So who then really taught this methods or skillful means to really to cleanse this ignorance? Then here the teacher, the great teachers, teacher Buddha Shakyamuni, who came to this human existence more than 2,500 years ago.
Kendri temba pene tembi ge jenju lo peje temba wa ta nyangelen dene lo ji dinja jeja de yama ji la be de ko shu ji da ba ro bene nang sen ji to no de so ni ga do zamel le shu mu bo ya je do ba na ji ji nang sen ji to ne ya je ja ga le da ba ta ba.
So after the passing away to Nirvana of Buddha Shakyamuni, for 700 to 800 years, it has the teachings of the Buddha have been greatly flourished. Just as the material development that is taking place in this contemporary world, at the time of those, after the passing of the Buddha to the Nirvana, the teachings of the Buddha has been flourished greatly.
나만속에 저번에는 대리손이 쇼소를 야채 채쇼때 제 변화로 지난세고라 딱간제 로기리 컴퓨터기리 아니 나온저도 패세도 추는 지세 도시 항상 야타로 디 내것을 난센지 연된도는 단단 가서 쉬고버 제반한 이게 난센기 연대 지고도는 참소 제도와.
So at this in the contemporary world, just as all those material developments, such as the development of technology, which can allows, let people fly in the sky and submerge within the oceans and so forth and so on. It is by relying upon the technologies. In ancient time, during the Buddha's time, it is through the development of their mental qualities could actually act the same thing that the contemporary world is acting at this time.
오늘 대디 것이 집에 담바 대다기로 난 생제에 대모터 쉬고 좀 받네. 대리손님 가서 가르치는 요거요 말이라나. 대리손님 가서 이게 선바대 내다지로 미시비 미바데 세메도 하잖아 나도.
So why didn't the people of the modern time, in other words, are unable to really to engage in such an act, not being able to engage in the extraordinary actions that have been acted by the great beings in the past? It is because of their ignorance that we talked about earlier, that our mind is completely submerged within the ignorance. It is because of the obscuration of obscuration of one's knowledge and so forth, are preventing the individual to actually engaging in such extraordinary actions.
타도 대지제 타도가 손을 열어라. 라니 뷰제데 다운에 라니 지동에 제나 문에 보내기 저번에지 문에 열었다. 대부분이 세례마도 줄루기 공식계자 말이야.
So we do have methods within us. It is the question of whether you will make an effort to really let this method manifest. Because this is the fact. We're not really talking about a religious belief around here. This is the fact.
된주기 타마노와 땡이게 문에 땜바 가진지 땜바 탈라게 투지 첨보다 땜바 된주기 땜바 증문에 바 양생 수지 폐자 생이지로 된주기 땜바데 대링인 내지 나가를 배 아마 나 가르쇼거 마치올라다 버리지 셈벌 좋아지래지다 대빠지.
So then try to, reflect one's mind upon the qualities of the Buddha. The Buddha, the compassionate Buddha, who is embodiment of both compassion and wisdom, have emerged in this planet Earth, and taught this extraordinary method for all beings, particularly to clear or to cleanse their ignorance and so forth. So by reflecting one's mind upon the qualities of the Buddha and try to, have some kind of extraordinary feeling within oneself and think about yourself how wonderful it would be if the Buddha is here in front of me at this point. So try to visualize Buddha Shakyamuni in front of oneself, mainly reflecting one's mind upon the qualities of the Buddha. Tompa, in Tibetan term, which literally translated in English as a teacher, refers to the Buddha Shakyamuni, who is a teacher, and if one needs to study, and we need to rely upon the teacher. If one is sick or one is patient, one need to rely upon physicians. So similarly, take this Buddha as one's teacher, that you wanted to learn something from him, and then consider oneself as a patient who would like to, rely upon a perfect physician. So let's take 5 minutes to meditate and five visualizations of the Buddha Shakyamuni, by reflecting one's mind upon the qualities of the Buddha. So try to relax your body as well as your mind.
되는 거 추천해 제가 들어와 또 투병고 시간 근디라고 지가 있는 거 추천해 제비여서 말하면 게 있잖아 선한 동안 되게 거거라고 내가 오늘 겨워서 얘라고 그러잖아.
So imagine that yourself being in the presence of the Buddha Shakyamuni and receiving the teachings directly from the Buddha Shakyamuni, and feel yourself as fortunate to be able to receive the teachings of the Buddha and being here in the presence of the Buddha Shakyamuni.
당한 저 때문에 된거 투병한 거는 제지대 대바 제시면은 현비 생각 친구 지장이 가서 돼 벌써 디퍼런스는 이제 뭐 보시우지 대동 제가 아니 매저 되고 아니 뭐라고 쉬운데도 그래서 때문에 접주네요.
By reflecting one's mind upon the Buddha Shakyamuni today, let's take as this opportunity as a Buddhist. As we all know, there has been great tragedy has taken place in Paris, and which caused a lot of innocent life and injured a lot of innocent people, and then prayer for the people who lost their life, as well as prayer for the family of the victims and people who were wounded in this tragedy. So with this dedication and motivations, let's recite Buddha Shakyamuni's mantra by reflecting our mind upon the Buddha.
말씀에 쉬운 것잖아요. 이 첫째로 이 첫째는 이제는 주는 거. 야고치잖아 대나는 얘기.
So this is how the human hatred can cause a lot of life. If we can really do something good, so we all have a capability to really act in a very positive way. So the teaching that we are receiving today is the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, which is Lam Rim. In order to dispel the darkness of the mind, we need a lamp for the teachings of the Buddha. The teachings of the Buddha will act as a lamp to dispel darkness of ignorance.
된두기 최대는 가서 전에 저와라 아니 도마다지로 나기로 추세기 시디 담아 후담아 그 콩다보 그래요. 연전에 되게 나가라니 도마 담아서 아니 주주 주부대니 산제를 또 봐. 치 주부대 강화도 봐. 되게 주지.
So when we speak about the teachings of the Buddha Dharma, teachings of the Buddha Dharma must be pure. Here, when I speak of the pure, the word is purity here really refers to. The purity here really refers to whatever the teachings of the Dharma he or she is giving must be traceable to the actual source of the teachings, which is given by the Buddha himself.
자자가서 상제기 추송하는 상제 주주 콜로코송 그래요. 주주 콜로스에 기네 주네 용바 콜로스는 코로 랑게 라마나 마도 봐도 송해지는 주주 콜로스는 가니지.
So teachings of the Buddha is also known as the turning the wheel of Dharma. It's also known as the wheel of Dharma. Why it is called wheel of Dharma? It actually, revolves from and transmit from one teacher to another teacher, starting from the Buddha Shakyamuni himself, all the way to one's own guru or the teacher.
근데 된두기 추비 다보되나 아니 추디기 제자 가르쳐야 생각을 손하러 아니 어제 제자 가르쳐야 해서 아니 다 상제기 추주 공부 제주 돈送받대 아니 가사지 상제비 냥에 제신 받을 때는 라도 나온대요. 네. 추디는 제샤로 나오네.
So the teachings that we are receiving today is just Lam Rim. The description of the teachings, which encapsulates the 84 heads of the doctrines, 84 heads of the teachings of the Dharma, that make it so lucid and convenient for everyone to actually engage in this practice and follow these teachings. By following these teachings of Lam Rim, one is able to encapsulate 84,000 ships of the teachings of the Dharma.
그래서 전화속에 티모의 리네라고 지시나 진짜 동번에 다삭 갈로고 다 콜리지 강라고 진로서 용수도 받더니 로아 데 추천지를 때 그러나 저는 대지를 때 대견지를 때 참석 용수도 지르로 되지.
If we take the example of our modern educations, starting from the kindergarten all the way to PhD, which requires a lot of different subjects, different course of learning and so forth. But if you were to look at this Lam Rim teachings, the teachings of the Lam Rim, today the teaching that we are receiving encapsulates entire teachings, entirety of the subject matter of the practice of the Dharma, beginning from kindergarten all the way to the PhD.
아니 추디 친이 저라 다니 가서 끼노주 아니 끼노주 비고는 셰바로 셰바지 거래로 다 간전들라 아니 가서 보다 세생이라고 지기스 배나마 속에 탄시에서는 아니 세생의 전된 추천고 제비되네 아니 셰비 셰라고 지기 거래로 그래서 배 이게 타탄들에서는 더신이라고 그러지요. 예바도 그래 최전이죠.
To receive the teachings of the Dharma or to teach the Dharma, the prerequisite for receiving the teachings of the Dharma and to teach the Dharma is the positive motivations. In other words, the appropriate motivations or the virtuous motivations. Virtuous and appropriate motivations here really refers to love and compassion for self and all other beings, and having very strong motivations of benefiting entire sentient beings, other sentient beings. In other words, one needs to actually have a combination of wisdom and method, or wisdom and compassion within oneself. With this kind of preparation or cultivation, one can receive the teachings of Dharma or the teacher Dharma.
그래도 그때부터 변화로와 선바이나 조 편생대로와 재생지여바지. 아니 집어지게 나주 싫어지어봐. 대닝에 바고를 주체내지 줄 제내지 산나게 도상지.
In order to study the Dharma, one need to have both compassion as well as wisdom. Wisdom that enables you to understand the meanings of the Dharma, and purpose of learning the Dharma is to benefit other beings. So therefore, it is indispensable quality for one to have these two mental quality, which is compassion for others and understanding of the teaching, the subject matter, which refers to the wisdom.
변은 샘플을 재생단으로 편생 수침부 여바되게 류마기 쇼방에 받는 민주가 지가라고.
So with this motivation, such as having a compassion and act of benefiting others, will completely withdraw oneself from engaging in negative deeds, because you are able to prevent all those negative thoughts and emotions within oneself. So with the wisdom, will not take oneself or to embark on the wrong path.
다 된뒤기로 다니지 다 사지지 바래 아니 된뒤기 콜라 비타보지냐 돈돈은 요거에서 아니 이 제이 정도 가르치는 시에서 서서네 로아 담방은 절로만 제대로 이제 봐서 내가 다는 하나 가는 곳으로 로그래 살아와이나.
So since this is such a precious teachings, or immaculate teachings, and how I can really begin to receive the teachings and practice this Dharma, when you ask this question, then one can answer by saying that by reflecting one's mind upon the fourth outline of Lam Rim, which is the sequence in which the disciples are to be taught the actual instructions, which one needs to begin from this outline. So then, from that, there are two subheadings or the sub-outlines, which is how to rely upon authentic teachers, and having rely upon the teacher, how one can receive the teachings and practice the Dharma, and train one's mind, in other words.
네 뭐 가르쳐 버렸잖아 아니 이러와 내가 개개인 좀 못된 거지 이러와 아니 개개인 좀 못된 편 좀 못된 것에 빼피다 지워야 이러와 개개인 좀 보지 마대나 로전 개성지 유튜브 말에 전에 같이 보래 멤버 야보지 말아나 멜로디에 내 가야리 세디 주고 저거 매버서야 가야리.
So therefore, what it really suggests here with these headings is to really to rely upon a qualified teacher, which is very, because without having a proper qualification of the teacher, will not really receive a good teachings from him. Similarly, as a patient, we need to rely upon an authentic physician. Without which, again, if you rely upon someone who has the name of physician, and if you just take a risk and rely upon such physicians, they might give you a wrong medicines, which may cost your life.
진짜 강시버대로 라니를 편도용에 같이 선나도는 진짜 절대로 세기도 다 그러러. 대산도서는 라니 그거를 대해야 말이야.
So whatever you think about receiving the teachings and purpose of receiving the teachings, always try to look inward and look towards yourself and how I can really gain benefit out of receiving these teachings.
당연히 사지만 되겠나.
So I'll go through the outlines now.
다 랑제 자와 신이 대비세 때는 로치다장 이름 많이 지 다들 로치다장 이름 발아야 니 뒤에는 님보내 비슈고 하다 님보 제단에 비추니 제한 동무지자지 다 님보 제단에 비추더라니 제 랑지 나자랑 게 받자바데 님보내 뭐지 양 동무지자지 다 님보내 증거들라 손지 주부 중간의 통문의 랑지를 많이 하서면서 주부 제다 통문은 주부 준비 랑지를 많이 하서면서 이제 다 동보라 손 주부 중에 상바제가 뭐 대제비 제대로 로바가 봐지 다 동보라니 대 지대시마 대니 줄어져도 지대시마데 이터데 많이 다 동보지자지 지대시마데 이터데 받아라니 tembal은 주고 또 장로문으로 또 델레 당지지 자와 이체지 대바지 많이 다 동보지지 다 델레 당지지 이체지 자와 대바지 받아는 손지 렌데 지시 받은 제다도 시바지 네 just 받은 제다서 산에 주도 지다시 이름 바 인사요 얘는 송바 네 산에 주도 지다시 이름 바 생각나서 렌데 히비카도 되려서
So at this point, we are under the subheadings of law of causality, or law of karma, and the explanation of karma in general, and explanation of karma in particular, and having explained and understood the karma in general as well as in particular, how one can really engage in positive deeds and abandon the negative deeds and so forth.
세대 대지는 저와 심한 패치지 대지 용대 용색이 싸워대 가투그리에서는 좋아지 거기 나로와 아니 레벨을 이치지 대발해 버텔 투그리에서는 타지는 거죠.
So how can, what really causes oneself to gain a happiness of this life and as well as the future life? So then the genuine conviction in law of cause and effect, and genuine appreciation to law of cause and effect will really become a cause for gaining happiness for this life and as well as the future life.
그 다치보다는 아이스 패치 대수를 쳐들어와 레벨을 이치지 대바 예바 전쟁 니기 세대의 조심한 변제 되지 될에 투그레서 대서 한번 잡으면 로스면 가요를
So we might, feel that developing, the faith or conviction in law of causality will really give rise to happiness, and how it could be. We might have this kind of doubt within us.
जिसे शवालागी दानी दागे ड्राई दानी दागे गोये जेन जिगोन सिखिन जेन ड्रान सिखिन जो से दे जिसे सामने जे पादारवा.
So therefore, then one need to think about, what the Shantideva has stated, that we ourselves is our own protector. We ourselves is our own foe or enemy.
내가 가투 그래 전화로 내가 가투에서는 지당내가 저기 무비네실라 지 주는 대세는 좋아질래 보네 대지 쪽에 지지로 와 지보유는 좋아질래 되네 대지 용거래 누구 요나를 좋아질래 되네 대지 용거로 지 타니스게 맞잖아.
So this is really, what it really tells us is, because when we speak about achieving happiness, or when we speak about undergoing suffering, both happiness and suffering are coming into being from its own causes and conditions. Both suffering and happiness and suffering are not really coming into being from nowhere, but rather it has its own particular, causes and conditions.
되려야지 라니기 좋아도네 라니 집어줘야지 와 라니기 좋아도네 라니 두고줘야지 라니기 라바네여서 그러.
So therefore, the Shantideva stated that to make and change within oneself, to achieve happiness, and similarly, it is through the changing of oneself we undergo suffering as well. So it is because of the cause that give rise to some kind of change within us, which may be a positive or negative. Because there's always requires certain causes and conditions for both happiness and suffering.
지 두포시디 두포 힘바지 지포시디 지포 힘바지 이나 주화전에 때마가나 다시 깨면도.
So if the suffering is just a suffering, it doesn't really rely upon any causes and conditions. And similarly, if happiness is just a happiness, doesn't rely upon any causes and conditions, then there's no method for us to really to achieve happiness or make a change.
텔레제스 쇼라는 요가래 게데 주스요나 텔레마가 지시샤즈 말해 게데 주스면 텔레마가 지시 편세데 뜻은 도서나 주화지를 때네 대지처가 대양 이 라니기 주화지 때는 대지처에 이 다가랑성이 거다.
So for this, again the great Indian master Shantideva stated, something that can be fixable, something that can be done, then why don't you put an effort to do it instead of being worried about it? It's something that cannot be done, that cannot be really changed, something that cannot be, it's not possible for one to change. What is the benefit of worrying about it?
맞추기 타니스키 제거 말하면서 캐들 내고 대제로 배는 안고 나서나 네 단지 가르 사셔이나 가르 통샤이나 네 공부지 나서 네 가르 제에는 세대 줄 자지 당고야 되로.
Although that we are not verbally expressing that law of cause and effect, but we always remaining under the law of cause and effect. Our way of actions, the way we speak, the experience that we have, and so forth. For instance, if you have a slight headache, suddenly you'll think about what happened to me. So that you are not actually thinking about the karma, but you actually, what happened to me, and that question really asks you to look about the cause. What is the cause of your headache? What have I have been eating? It is something due to my diet or something. So you're actually looking at you're tracing the cause of this headache. So in the same way, all the happiness or the excellences are really coming into being from its causes and conditions. If you have a firm conviction in having causes and condition for all of this, happiness and so on and so forth, then you are actually training yourself towards achievement of happiness.
대단하네. 저거리 이나요로 내가 좀 수포될 내가 자기 시에서나 그 로기지 소소기 야버지 제나야 로기지 전에 니빠존에 좋아도 시지도. 그러와. 대랑아야 제지문도라나 아니 줄을 좋아 동투에 말게. 저거 주차래로. 세고 세자로. 배난 대지기 다니 말지 배내지 동에지 지나로. 대지기는 니 수고도 경고 참고하면도 같이 줘야도 라고 지라와이나. 대말에 그런
So when the power of cause is changing, then the effect will change naturally. It is a natural law, natural function of law, mechanism of law, and law of cause and effect. For instance, when we are getting older, so our physical strength and powers are greatly degenerate. And again, this degeneration of strength and powers does not coming into being from nowhere. It has its own causes and conditions. It is because of the particular causes and conditions then the degeneration of one's own strength and powers is taking place within one's physical body.
제가 잠시나로 맞소 레다 뉴모 온지 단다기 메데 로자투에게 네바지기 로 네글 레더 제용 전시나 배는 누구 약같이 제손의 뒤에서 조선은 누구도 쉬어야 되고 뒤지 좋아 자는 좋아나 이로와 맞속에 철로 잡히기 뒤뒤 좋아들이 좀 저그래.
So for as a human beings, we have the most longest life that we have is 100 years, and that the situation and the actual mode of existence of those 100 years within the secular existence are completely under the domination of karma and delusions. And so once your course of living within this existence for certain years is exhausted, then you are no longer over here. Similarly, it's just like the sprout. When the sprout is, it is time for the sprout is to generate, then the sprout won't be alive. Similarly, the course of your lifespan is completely exhausted, then your life being within this existence will be exhausted.
뒤기 지금빈에 지기 춘이 좋아진 로도 왜나 맞추잖아요. 펜토스 게임도 가지로 자요 노는 좋아진 로도 레도 하라나.
So if you were to ask the question, then there's not much very benefits of studying the Dharma or the practice of the Dharma, because the change is taking place constantly, till one dies.
저는 이로 드레스. 이나요. 저는 원래 보내기 때문에 되어가지 줄을 되는 유행이 지나 저 이게 소보데 수이 조수되셨잖아. 레도 녀모니 잠딩이 주지기 저는 저 샤스로. 다 잠딩이 주될 돈에 돈에 이니 레년 오기 전에 로마 그게 지기 소에 더 힘을 보내요. yes.
Although that our life as a samsaric beings is caused by karma and delusions, but through one's own practice, receiving the teachings of the Dharma, one can make a great change, or one can transform oneself, not letting oneself being under the domination of karma and delusions.
네, 다시 되게 그래. 같이 카드도 컨버시가 나와고 돼. 오늘 전대지 되래 되는도라다.
What do you really think? Am I being whatever that I spoke today? Is it something that you think I'm being really talkative, or is it something that really corresponds to reality?
오늘에다 로아 오늘에 맞죠? 진대대대 생이 되니 이게 거래져 로도 뭐 비니스고.
So it's a fact, the dependent arising of cause and effect. It's a revolves. It revolves.
계속 뒤지게 만에는 야나 다시 템버로 좋아지에 로에밍이 지역으로 좋아지에 로에밍이 지역나 다 미토나스기 좋아하는 시고 세장로 무슨 내가 통으로.
So we cannot accept something that unchanging situation. There's an unchanging entity. This is not real. Even if you reject everything, the changing and nature of impermanent, if you reject the nature of impermanent, even if you reject very strongly, but the reality will speak for you. You have no other means. You're actually compelled to have a conviction and appreciation. Because the change is taking place, it's a vivid. So then why the change is taking place? Then it's because of causes and conditions. So since this change is taking place because of causes and conditions, so then this will give an opportunity for you to understand I can make a change of this cause and condition into a positive causes and conditions, which give rise to happiness to oneself.
다 라니 이 마치나 라니 지고만도 pombo도 여러 생에들 체단되면 지고만 뭐 쉬우지 pom보도로 좀 비탑 많아서요. 근데 제가 말하고 제가 왜 뒤를 봐셔 생에되지. 오늘 초아를 제일 투사 말해봐서.
So isn't we really, you know, if you really reflect on this, you know, reflecting on this, you know, law of karma and its causes and conditions, will really give you some kind of feelings, extraordinary feelings within oneself, because all those great teachers and, you know, lamas and gurus have spoke about the possibility of changing the negative qualities, negative conditions and causes and conditions, into a positive causes and conditions. And so how can we do that? Isn't that a really time for us to really look for it and really to try to find some means to really to follow the instructions and make a change within those causes and conditions?
아주 정전의 희열이로 저런이 레바가 저런이 감지 레바 가셔쇼 저런이 난쳐서라도 고셔쇼 레바한테 다니지 그래.
So by joking, half joking, we said that you try to open your computer of human brain, referring to the brain, that becomes a repository of omniscience. A monitor, you can become a monitor of omniscience.
다 저기 건물이 개라치고 고제자셔로 난쳐서도 고마시나 난쳐 땅서 건물.
So we need to really to open the manufacture of the omniscience, because up until now we are kind of closed that manufacture and not letting the omniscience getting into our brand. So therefore we need to open the door for that manufacture and let the omniscience, the causes and conditions of omniscience get into it.
아주 고시원은 동부 투연해로 희는 고시고로.
So in order to open, so we need to listen to the teachings and need to understand the meanings of the teachings.
아주 배린다고 그러죠. 아주 배배기 카벨테로 견적 기하고 시기 카발 된세죠. 견적 기하고 도서기 주발전에 롱거나 얘기로 아니 견다지 시발을 치를 된 것이지 또 퇴발 된 거.
So we have a Tibetan have a saying that the elderly must rely upon a cane, the cane to get up from the cushion. Similarly, to understand the meaning must be heard. The word must be heard very clearly in the beginning.
가지고 있는 것을 걸로.
Cane.
단어들 정말 하고 방사적이.
So let's take a 15 minutes break here.
저도 성적이 땜보다 주비 가사 온도 나나요. 이 대화 장바체는 용해 지어요. 이치 그런 지고 있잖아. 야, 너저 그런 이제서는 용해니요. 너저 이제서 용해들 아니 엄보신도 넘었으나 그러지.
So speaking about the practitioners of the Dharma, there are of two types. One is the practitioner who's completely, whose practice is completely based on faith, the very firm, irreversible faith based on that. And there's another type of practitioners, not really based on faith, but also the faith in conjunction with the wisdom. So the latter one is said to be the practitioner of what we call the higher faculty, possessing higher faculty or the higher capacity, mental capacity.
대리소는 잠벨에는 남비 출루를 젬비 출루되는 대비 제너럴스라는 다 지에잖아. 미디어 진여 말이로. 다 쳐버려.
So in this world, it is pretty safe to say that, apart from the Buddhism, and the rest of the other world major religious traditions are based on faith.
다 대비 제선하는 전 개요 말이로. 허자지기 제선으로 감이 야다기 제선으로 여러 공식 정변일로는 감이 그 대비 제선으로는 계속으로.
So there's nothing wrong, just practicing based on faith. It is, the faith will again gives you a courage to follow a positive path, and you gain actually, great benefits out of having a good faith.
배는 좀 남비선으로 난 하마도에 모아쳐가 들리다. 그래서 지 모자기 생이다 그러면 난 하마 생이 개말때는 라마지 라리 워신이 된지도 방안지도 치바나 이게네 치미 정진의 가운데로 제바스케 제가 말해봐. 다랑 이게 또 가지를 통해 열이로.
So the faith-based teachings and practice is, exist in every religious traditions. For instance, the teachings of the Lam Rim, and there are also some disciples who would just listen to the teachings and the instructions of their teacher, and following the instructions of the teacher and meditating, and without going through any analysis, but rather maintaining a pure faith and meditating and following the instructions of the teacher, and have gained a great spiritual realizations.
괜찮은 대리손이기 내걸은 정말 손나 제바테로와 제바제의 휴지와 배나 오늘 용랑라 최동의 휴지와 제거를 소고도와.
So therefore, His Holiness now, in this particular, now it's in the 21st century, it is really important to really, when you study the teachings of the Dharma or you're teaching the Buddha Dharma, you should not really rely upon the faith alone, but try to rely on the wisdom as well. So go through a critical analysis of what is being taught.
출루당 만제비 너저 배제도네 여러 성실 용터지 남비춘의 내도 소바로.
So therefore, His Holiness has emphasized that there are a lot of practices beyond religion, beyond believing in religion, could be found within the Buddhist Buddha Dharma.
진짜로도 좋아. 이 무빈의 지금 제제당 대리손님 잠불이 체리의 퇴비기 내다지 남비치 집어서 나는데 체리의 퇴비 제바체네 냥도 줘야지. 남비치들의 성가.
So it's a very unique religion, which really analyzes the reality of phenomena. Buddha Dharma and Buddhism, it's really emphasized on the reality of phenomena. So therefore, Buddhism really, see eye to eye with modern scientists.
다 쉬 제가 때문에 쉬 뭐번 조안종에 이 미통 수제트서에 해토로 된주기 개뼈 될라잖아 나생기 되네 대두기 조아동에 나생의 대지처도 생긴데 다 남이초 코나면도 다다바 메로와.
So in Buddhism, it's again not only analyzing the reality of the external phenomena, but also analyzing the reality of internal phenomena. You're referring to the one's own mind. So analyzation on the internal phenomena or the mind is a really unique practice of Buddhism.
하버드 소소하겠지 라네도에다 카츠고든을 상담도나 베능에다 이제 쇼라기 치쇼로가니 저쪽에 봐. 되게 치쇼로가들로는 치냐 양나 데들로 아니 뒤 전화가래도 될때는 상나지도 양데 카바잖아요. 상나지도 같은 로고에 나서 나중에 배제 당들어. 제가 제통이 거다.
So therefore, it is very important to really to think by oneself. Whenever you study or you read the verse, particularly the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, the verse that I previously recited, and this need to be read in the beginning, and then one contemplate upon it and try to analyze, and what this really indicates, what is the meaning, and so therefore it really makes let your intellect function very properly, so that you will be able to observe the meaning of the verses.
아주 최근에 년에 예고 영에서 세계적인 통수는 주기대 주시는 소속이 통돼서 지금 대자식.
So there are good practitioners. At the moment they see a really a wonderful verse, and they will just jot down, copy it and jot down, and then place on a particular place where they can easily be seen, so that whenever they can gaze it and then just look at it and contemplate on it.
배주 제전에 대로는 뺏가버리러. 대로 이제 뺏가버리러. 대로가 이기지. 아주 세대 매기 로지로부터 로가 되는데 제단다 집어다면 나타로네. 아니 라니 데스 주요는 편도여러. 얘나야 최소 패치 된 가버리. 다 최소 가버스는 메시다. 간절로 딘디지장이 초심을 제와제. 근데 나체도 다루도 된다 된서뭐 된지 대로로 상나도. 대로 배주지 당하이나. 오늘 전에 이 소설을 소중하게 생발의 대지제 통해 못 땜고 못 챈고 또 차야 돼요.
So all of you probably, interested in reading books, as far as I know, and so again, reading book, such as biography or novel or the fictions, whatever that you read, it is actually good. You're just exercising your brain and so forth. And also it is good to read the biographies of the great masters of the past. But if you really take this time and replace this reading of that kind of book, if you read the philosophy, the Buddhist philosophy books, or the philosophical tenets, different philosophical tenets books and so forth, will then really, give you some kind of new idea. Not only just you are knowing the biography, but rather you are actually, it really makes your mind very active to analyze on reality. So let's go through the text right now. So we're on the 258 pages, paragraph. It is a third paragraph, I would say, after the verse, right? There are two verses, and after the second verse, so we'll begin from that paragraph. Do not act like the person of the first verse.
거대부 가드레스에서는 아니 저런 누자 맞에 야보쇼가 강주투도 지주쇼었어. 야보면 이제 강 누자 조조지는 중에 진소나 아니 셋들라 냠자다 생차지 유여가 맞지. 저와시마 양신하지 이모는 로고레스. 저 걔네는 그러면은가. 아니 야로 조조는 전에 누자 쇼한테 방한테 도등에 지나 셋대 강에 비비거나 저와시마를 대치지거나 로고레 일단 심한나 이제 쇼어서 거대부지다.
What it really says here is it is very, comprehensive. It really is not really subtle at all. this verse really emphasizes, the first verse emphasizes on if one really be a good person in this particular life, be positive and be compassionate one and so forth, it not only give you a happy life in this life, or in this particular life, but also give you a happy life in your future. And then if you do not follow the good path of being a good person in this life, it's not only that it will give you an unhappy and unpleasant situation in this particular life, but also in one's future life. That's all.
Teta yang ribi tsi mauta machangsa, pame den jupa ne tuyan chung la asa. Chu nyunga le me xie chang kaan xeba la, dune ji du na, tuyan che te chung le esu.
So do not act like the person of the first verse, but do whatever you can to act like the person of the second verse. Further, there's a little sense in saying the many reasonable words, but acting in an unruly way. Even if you only know a little, there's a great benefit in practicing whatever teachings you know, by casting aside what is wrong and adopting what is right. So it doesn't require any further explanation because it's very comprehensive. So we have a Tibetan saying that by expressing the word is like a bubble on the water if you are not really reflecting on the meanings.
Teta gejo kawa ma tabi yin se, teta gejo kawa thoma yin se mure. Kete riche, nyunga ma she chang, chu ji jesu jin, chu la shio pa tang, de cha she tang timu, pon she pa teta gejo kawa thoba yin se, gejo pa ya pa, ale ma beto lo gina. Lo shang ida, pa ya pa la ga she cha, ane, pa me pa la ji pa, ji ta. Jitayasa, Dani Nendo Lende, Dazo Lende, Lam Chenshi, Yano Baye, Lagashi, Pame Balaji, Tawa, Dipa Tangi, Tubashi, Longi Junshi, Nomashi, Sheso also.
So let's go through the reading of the verse. It says, the collection of indicated verses. The unruly may speak at length on what is reasonable, yet they do not act accordingly. Like herdsmen counting others' livestock, they do not attend the fortune of virtuous practice. Those who practice the teachings in accordance with their instructions and eradicate attachment, hostility, and ignorance attain the fortune of the virtuous practice. Though they may speak little of what is reasonable, through delighting in conscientiousness and fearing unruliness. So fearing unruliness, monks pull themselves from the miserable realms, like an elephant pull themselves from the mud. Through delighting in the conscientiousness and fearing unruliness, monks shake off all sins, like the wind shakes the leaves from the trees. So what it says, it really refers to importance of maintaining conscientiousness. Yeah, mindfulness in other words. Always be mindful. Be mindful of what is being, what one is doing and so forth. So if you are really not being mindful, then you are not really taking care of your mind.
맞소게 디바드스라 밤에 봐 동안 좀 배고 생기죠. 최대는 맞아는 밤에 오게 슈슈를 디바스를 빼면 버리는 거죠. 아주 추kel링에 지는 뭐쳐데 배는 하려고 지나 뭐쳐데 밤에 비 동안 좀 배고 되죠.
So there are also a downfalls of what we call downfall caused by the non-conscientiousness. It is because of non-mindfulness, in other words. So you are not actually, deliberately engaging in negative acts, but it is because of unconscientiousness or the non-conscientiousness, enable you to engage in that negative deeds. But you are not being mindful of what you're actually doing.
배는 저 니만한 소리야. 배는 까담벨 남한테서에 니만이마에 디피게 장카 가실 해봐다. 게이 장카 가실 해봐데 뭔다 슈노제 도와도 도르까나이도. 나초데 센터로 와다.
So in the past, great Kadamba masters, they were able to count at the end of their day at night before they retire. They're able to count how many negative deeds that they have done at the day, and how many positive deeds they have, done at the day. So they, by, counting and using the black and white stone.
다 봐요 바지 제소나네 장이 예송이 내내야 된투레스 배는 당전는 해배 랑체된 두거나 인이 된투레스로 다나가 저기 뭐에 내지 이해서는 가서 봐 당전는 랑체 하바나 인이 가서 제고 소주지 해도요 봐요 때네 지 개정소를 정해나 뒤뒤게 랑체 답제돼요 된투레스 내손에 된투
Through the maintenance of this conscientiousness, one can actually pull oneself from the mud. He refers to the ignorance, just like the elephant, regardless of how heavy the elephant may be, but there's a possibility of actually pulling the elephant from the mud. Similarly, regardless of how heavily negative thoughts and emotions that binds us within this mud. So if you really, maintain this conscientiousness, you'll be able to pull yourself from this negative muds of negative.
밤에도 양산을 예지 송통에 지나 디바트스 주네로 시기전에 아니 롱부기 니 장신 신로 또하나 얘기 매버서 도저 송도아.
So we should really guard ourselves from this unconscientiousness or the non-conscientiousness. Just like that, we protect ourselves from, from falling off a cliff.
근데 양사 통보지를 감바전을 로고에서 손은 감바 컴바트 사틀는 마도 전이 세바 이표고 말아.
If you're, for instance, you're actually walking at the edge of the cliff, you're single-pointedly, focusing on your steps. You will never be, without letting your mind go off that, you will try to observe your steps and try not to fall yourself off the cliff.
생각이 뒤지 송통에 지서나 장애 신경에 지나 두자쇼를 나고 말아.
If you're able to maintain this conscientiousness in this way, then you will always be able to, embark upon a positive path.
다들天上받은 로시하게 된다 지사시. 시소지. 대단한 시정에서 개들 토리 타방문시 문시나서 양다 따와 공배 rab든주. 강사 로바 따위 레시장 통제 나고 멤버 메제데 시송바다서. 이제 저 분이 소리 제대로 님이 무슨도 이렇게 진지사
So this being so, the proper view of dependent arising and the causality of the two types of karma is an indispensable foundation for the practice of all the vehicles and the aim of all beings, as Nagarjuna's friendly letter says. If you actually desire high status as a human or deity and liberations, you must familiarize yourself with the correct view, and with wrong views, even a person who acts well will have terrible fruition in our lives.
Te는 이렇게 저거 돼서도 내가 손이 야가만으로 거는 쭉 총이 차는 쭉은 저기 상상되자 아주 소리 이지도 자샤입니다.
So we have 2 more classes before I go to India, and then I'll try to finish this small capacity or the small attitude of the person of the small capacity. So then I'll, within this next two teachings, I'll try to explain this.
담아서 정확히 와.
Let's do the dedication again.
안에서 그 선생님이 강도 매매받지게 와. 때도 대화 줄 수 있는 시대를 하셔서 와. 다른 같은 것까지 제제 나한테는 강자들이 시에요. 말하기 시바시네. 얘네 사이비 선생님 시바시네. 영수도 같은데 대화 줄 유튜브에 나로 제대로 잖아. 늦지는 가 상대기 신라고 지라고 되지 않나.
So let's dedicate all our virtues towards the attainment of one's own enlightenment, that of other, as well as of other sentient beings, by reflecting one's mind upon the Buddha's quality again, as we mentioned earlier, and then think about that from the beginningless time up until now, that I have remained under the domination of karma and delusions. So from now on, since I have at least acquired some teachings of the Dharma, so that how can I really eradicate those negative karma and delusions, and by engaging in the practice of the Dharma. So I will do so and put all my efforts to the fullest extent to my ability to overcome and prevent myself with not being under the domination of karma and delusions. And may all beings to be able to do that, and may all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas bless me to be able to do this.
Yahweh separin tu chonjushi, Mazan tu pe tu jen tu jichin, Yajen se je mi da mi mi kun, Sera kun tu Yahweh ma pa yi, Nanda jowa ma jushi, Kanze tenpa chola chu, Sejin chula sampa de yise, Tuden kanti tatu joshe chin, Trashi kyasu chogyun jagyun shi. Nami kutse raten chin, Nanka chunme chochu jepadam, Lozan tepe jume sasunji, Joye munse tatu lindushi. Rawe kowe shinkanti, Tenkan dewa madu jumwe, Shenre sewa tense jatsoyi, Shabe sete bardu tenjushi. Chante pawa jita chenpadam, Kutu zampo deya dejinte, Teta kunju jesu dano shi, Gewa dita tamche ratu mo, Tuzun shebe gewa tamche ki, Yawa gama chotu gama de, Dagi gewe zawa de kunjan, Zambo chuchi ratu